All right. So this is it. This is week 4, guys. We're nearly done with this course. I'm concerned about a number of you because it seems to me that you're far behind. Now, at this point, there isn't an awful lot that I can do to help you. I can do this, though. Tomorrow night, I will be here in this room from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock Mountain Time, the same time as I'm here tonight for our live session. So if you guys, if any of you need help, if any of you want to come in and get some help from me, come in tomorrow night between those hours and I'll be glad to help you. Also, I will be available in Blackboard Collaborate on Wednesday night from 7 o'clock Mountain Time until 11 o'clock Mountain Time. That's Wednesday night. And then Saturday night, if you really want to wait till the last minute, which I don't recommend that you do, I will be in Blackboard Collaborate from 7 o'clock until 12 o'clock Mountain Time. So those are my times in Blackboard Collaborate. But you know, it's important for you to understand this. You don't have to wait till tomorrow night. I mean, after class tonight, if you are working on projects, you could go into Blackboard Collaborate on your own and you could find another instructor who could help you just like I help you. When I'm in Blackboard Collaborate, I don't get just my own students in there. As a matter of fact, most of the time when I'm in Blackboard Collaborate, I have students from other courses come in and I'm helping other instructor students with their work. So there will be somebody in there now and all through the rest of the week who can help you just as if it were me. The other thing too is, so that you know, I don't know whether you get notice of this or not, but as I understand it, tomorrow night when I'm in this room here for you, it's also possible, as I understand it, that other students might show up for that too. How that works, I'm not sure. Amanda, have you received any notice about that? I
don't think so.
No, then I'm not exactly sure how that works. I think I got some kind of a thing that I put into announcements. Did you happen to see that? Did you happen to notice that, Amanda, that there was something in announcements about this, yes or no?
I don't think so. I know when you're in there. I don't know when others may be in there.
Okay. All right. I didn't know how that worked, but it seemed to me that as I understood it, anybody could come in. I don't get too many people in there, frankly, but like I say, I think tomorrow night at least one student's coming because I had a conversation with them. But you're all welcome to come in tomorrow night, and I'll help you any way that I can. And then again, as I say, you got Wednesday and Friday. I'll help you then too. But don't hesitate to go into Blackboard and seek out help from another instructor. The people in Blackboard are people who are very capable, know what they're doing, and will be able to help you. In this particular course, you should have little trouble getting anybody to help you do the things that you're trying to do here, not just me. I mean, you don't need me, your instructor, to do that. Any one of these graphic design people that are in Blackboard can help you exactly the same way. So really, you know, if you're having trouble with something, and I know you people are having trouble because I'm getting file formats turned into me that make no sense whatsoever. They don't open, they're text strings, they don't have extensions on them, and I can't open them. And I know that I'm having to fail people and tell people that the reason I'm failing them is that I can't open the file. And don't think just because I failed you because I couldn't open the file that I'm going to continue to fail you to the bitter end. If you resubmit the work in a file format that I can open, and if the work is good, you're not going to fail. I'm going to correct the grade. But at the time that I get it, if I can't open it, I don't really have a choice but to fail it because I'm not able to open it. The other problem I encountered here is that I don't think you're really paying attention to the instructions. Because in most cases, Amanda, you're here, so I can use you as a sounding board on this.
Okay.
Am I wrong? I'm pretty sure that each week it tells you to submit a JPEG and a PSD file. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. As far as I've been able to recollect, it has said a JPEG and a PSD.
Right.
Although I did notice on the assignment this week, it's asking for a PDF.
Okay, that's fine. That's just the final version. Now, the reason, just so that you guys understand this, there's a reason that they're asking you to submit to me a PSD instead of just a JPEG. And a lot of you people are sending me just JPEGs. This is the problem. And I've got one person that sent me a PDF, and I tried to explain to them that I don't want a PDF, I want a PSD, and I still haven't got it. The reason that I'm looking for you to submit PSDs for me is because the PSD file is the layered file. And most of the time, unless the work is obviously exactly what I'm looking for, most of the time what I will do is I will download the PSD and I will open it up in Photoshop and I will look over the layers and all the work that you did so that I get a sense of what you did, and it helps me to determine what I think you should be graded for. Mm-hmm. So if I get something that's just a JPEG, then I can't really do that. It makes it very hard for me. Then I have to make a decision based on what I'm seeing in the work without actually examining the working file. And I think it's much fairer to you and me as an instructor to be able to look at the PSD so that I can determine what you're doing. Now, I'm not going to say that I'll know every single thing that you're doing, because some of it's a puzzle. But at least I can see where the experimentation is going on. In the end, a wallpaper, a funny little animal, and two color-corrected images don't mean an awful lot to me. What means everything to me as an instructor is your experimentation with this program, where I see you trying to experiment with the program and learn things about the program, good or bad, through this experimentation. That's what I'm looking for as an instructor. I really want to see that more than I want to see a really great end result. If the end result is mediocre, but then I look at what you did and I see that you've at least tried to experiment and do things, then I feel more inspired to give you a better grade. That's really what it comes down to. I'm more concerned about you learning at this point. I'm more concerned about you learning some new things about this program than I am about you creating a portfolio piece out of these three little things. As you move through the courses, it's going to be more and more important for you to come up with portfolio level pieces. But right now, a lot of you people, Amanda, you're not one of them, but a lot of you people are really beginners with this program. And I have to tell you, there was a time when I was a beginner with this program. There was a time when I didn't know a thing about this program, and it intimidated the heck out of me. But it was the kind of thing that, okay, I have to get in front of the program, and I have to play with it, and I have to do things, and I have to mess things up, and I have to learn things. That's the only way you're going to achieve it. So it is, in my mind, very important that you sit with this program and play with it and try to do things. And if things don't go right, that's okay. I'm looking for you to try. I'm looking for you to experiment.
Messing up is part of the process.
Right. And if you do things that mess up, you have the ability to put footnotes in there. You can note to me what went on and explain to me what went on, and I'll look at that note as well. Matter of fact, I think it's good when you take the time to put notes in, sharing what happened a little bit with the experience that you went through in producing the piece that you're submitting. So
yeah, they even give you a comment section when you go to submit your work. If you had trouble with something, you put it right in there when you hit submit.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. So I'm saying it's really a good opportunity. And now some of you have, a number of you put comments in explaining this and that and the other thing about what went on. And, I'll read them. If there's a comment in there, I'm going to read them. I'm interested in hearing what you say. I'm interested in seeing what you do and what you go through. I'm interested in all that. And I use that as also a basis for my final judgment when it comes to grading. I try not to grade I try not to be unfair at my grading, but I have to be honest as well. If I look at something and I don't see an effort, I really would feel very guilty giving a grade for somebody that didn't put in what I believe to be a good effort. But at the same time, I understand a lot of people are starting out. So I try to be fair about it at the same time. It's a balancing act. It really is. And it's not easy for me because I have to use my judgment on this, you know? And a lot of times, you know, you might think my judgment's overly harsh. I certainly am not deliberately going out of my way to be overly harsh. I'm the last person in the world who would do that. So this is it. This is our last week. I'm saying to you that try to get caught up because there's an awful lot of you guys that are out there that are really behind. And I really, there's not a lot more than I can do than offer you that help at this point. And also, like I say, don't just wait for me. Blackboard is open all day and all the way up until 12 o'clock at night. So really, anytime you have free time during the day, if you want to work on something, you're having trouble of any kind whatsoever, go to Blackboard. Amanda, have you ever been to Blackboard?
I have.
You have. So you know how to get there, right?
Yes.
Is it any way difficult?
No, not at all.
Okay. So again, I hope you all know how to get there. You should by now. Most of you at least should have gone there at one time or another. And I'm saying to you is anytime you need any help, go there. Don't wait. Go there. Go and get the help because that's what they're there for. And these people, no matter who it is, will probably be able to help you exactly the way you need that help. And in this particular program, I can pretty much guarantee it. If it were something more complicated, then maybe you may run into a problem. But if it's something like this, they should have no trouble helping you. So that's it. As far as the rest of the week goes, I think there is no discussion this week. Is that right?
No discussion on the final week.
I think what it is it's a critique. How did they do it? Let me just see. Hold on a second. Let me get this open here. Whoops. Let's go to bookmark. Let's go to where are we at? Oh my goodness. Well, I'm gonna have to go crazy to find it, so I'm not gonna bother. I know that you have a final assessment. I know that there's a instead of a discussion, I believe there's a questionnaire that they give you, 3 or 4 questions that they asked you.
Oh yeah, that's with every module. It's
right, and it has to do with me. It has to do with the material, and it has to do with the.
It's the career integration quiz.
Right. So you go in and do that, and I think you do your final, which is this poster, and I think that's it. Yeah,
those are the only 2 assignments this week.
And then you can spend the rest of the time, hopefully, trying to catch up on some of the work. And as I say, get help. Don't do it. If you can't, if there's any question or any doubt or any problem, don't struggle through it by yourself. And also try to get this stuff done and get it in, you know, and just realize that I cannot change a grade after Saturday. At the end of the day, Saturday, as soon as it's 1 o'clock in the morning, Sunday morning, I'm done. I can't change a grade. I can't do a thing. So anything up until that point, I can go back in and I can look at and I can amend the grade. And I will be happy to do that for you. But the grades have to be in there and I have to have it time-stamped before the end of the day, Saturday. Anything that's time-stamped after Saturday is done. I can't change it. All right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's that. And what I want to do, I got 2 things that I want to do, 3 things I actually want to do tonight. The first thing is I have something that Amanda sent in. Unfortunately, Amanda, once again, you're the only one that actually came through with anything for me to critique. So we're going to spend a little bit of time looking at your piece. Now, what I did was I brought your piece into Photoshop so that I can kind of take a look at it in its sort of native state where I can hide layers and do stuff like that. So I'm not going to bother showing the JPEG at all because obviously I can't really do very much with it other than just talk about it. So I'll show the PSD. And then what I want to do is before I actually go in and play around with some things that I want to show you guys. And again, Amanda, this might be things that you know, but keep in mind, there are a bunch of people in here who don't know a lot of the things that I'm going to show, and I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible for them. But
Sure.
I'm going to go in and I'm going to demonstrate a few things that relate to creating a poster. I wasn't able to get to my, well, maybe I can log into Canvas from here. Hold on. Here we go. Look at that. Come on, baby. Come on, you can do it. There we go. That's what I want. Okay, let me have a minute here. This'll be good too. So we're going to go into discussions. So let's see what the discussions bring us. Do we have a final discussion? Actually, we do. So here it is. You know what it is? It's a reflection. That's what it is. So really what it comes down to is it's more or less something that you do voluntarily. You're not going to get graded on it. And I have to tell you, frankly, a lot of people don't bother doing it because if they're not going to get a grade for it, they're not going to do it. But anything that you feel about this course, this is even the opportunity to tell them what a lousy instructor I am. You can do whatever you need to do. I'm just saying, I'm not going to hold you accountable for anything. Put in here whatever your thoughts are. But bear in mind, it isn't graded. It's just something that you do because you want to share your thoughts. So that actually makes it easy. If you don't want to waste the time with it, that's fine, because again, I'm more concerned that you guys get the grades, and that means that anything that requires points, I want you to focus on getting that stuff done. I will go back in and I will work on anything that you submit to me, and I will try to upgrade you if there's any way that I can. And that really means if the work is changed for the better. Okay, and let's see here. Let's go back here for 1 second, and we're going to go to assignments. And again, just so that you know, the reason I'm doing this is I want to just talk a little bit about the assignment criteria. Go to week 4, final project first. Okay, so here's the reason that I'm coming here. Okay, what we're going to be concentrating on in this particular week is typography. Although last week it's kind of funny because last week we did text on a path, which is a little bit about text. But I'm going to cover text a little bit tonight, and I'm going to show some videos where text are being used in posters. And I actually found a number of posters in Photoshop, YouTube, a tutorial for poster design, making a poster design in Photoshop and creating a powerful text poster. And again, these are all in YouTube, okay? Mm-hmm. So you can see YouTube really is a very valuable program for you. Now, this one here, they're asking you to submit file types, a file upload. You can choose either a PDF, a JPEG, and I don't know why they got JPEG and JPEG, either a PDF or a JPEG. So really, you know, if you want to send me a PDF, I could theoretically open the PDF back up in Photoshop. But again, your choice is either make it a PDF or a JPEG. Your final poster size is 11 by 17. Now, that could be 11 by 17, either horizontal or vertical. When I say horizontal or vertical, vertical would be the equivalent of what they call portrait. So if you think of a portrait, usually vertically, it's taller, it's 17 inches tall by 11 inches wide. That's a vertical, and that's what they call portrait. 11 by 17 means 17 inches wide by 11 high. That's horizontal, or that's called landscape. And the other thing here is they want it to be 300 DPI, and they want it to be in CMYK. Okay, now here's my question, and I'm going to let you, Amanda, answer it. Ready?
Yep.
Why would this be required to be in 300 DPI?
Because if they're preparing you to do a poster, it is going to print, and that is for the standard for print is 300 dots per inch, and it is in CMYK mode, not RBG.
CMYK is the actual color mode that it's,
Yeah.
so that's exactly right. Thank you, Amanda. Why this is saying you need to be in 300 DPI, and this is a problem too, because you're going to have trouble finding an image online that's going to be big enough to go 1117 300 DPI. So this is going to be a challenge, guys. I just want you to understand that. This is going to be somewhat of a challenge. 11 by 17 inches is pretty big, and you're going to have to find or create something that works at 300 DPI in CMYK. The CMYK part is very simple. I'll show you how to do that, and you'll see that that's nothing hard to deal with.
No.
The 300 DPI isn't hard to do either. You can set up your document, and I'll show you how to do that. Set up a document 1117 at 300 DPI. Now, the one thing I want you to understand is when you work on this project, you don't go right away and convert it to CMYK from the very beginning. Usually what you want to do is you want to leave it in RGB all the way through the process of building your piece, your project. And then when you're ready to go, you're going to export it as a JPEG. Right before you export it as a JPEG or a PDF, you then go in and you convert it from RGB to CMYK. The reason I say that is because CMYK, most of the things in Photoshop don't like CMYK. They sort of like RGB. So while you're working on the project and you're doing all the different things in Photoshop that you will do to your project to make the project look sensational, the program behaves overall better when you're working in RGB.
Mm-hmm.
When you convert it at the very end of CMYK, that's usually done at the very last minute when you're ready to export it. And as I say, the reason that you're doing that is because it has to end up being in CMYK, but you don't want to start with the project in CMYK. I hope that's clear enough that it makes sense to you. While working on your design, save as a PSD. Okay, posters have the following required elements. This is important for you to understand this. And again, I really get the feeling that at least a couple of you have not come in here and read your final project requirements very carefully, because again, you know, some of the things that you're doing would lead me to believe that that's not what you're doing. It is asking you to do at least 3 distinct areas of text. Okay, so what they're talking about when they say 3 different areas of text, well, a headline would be one area of text. Some sort of a paragraph or some sort of a subheadline or a line of copy that supports your headline or contrasts the headline. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as a speech bubble is concerned, you could use that, but I think probably what would make more sense is if you had an area of text that had some kind of identity or some kind of contact information that would be considered separate from the paragraph. So if you're going to work on something, think about this. 9 times out of 10 when you create a poster, it's for some sort of an event or some sort of a thing. Mm-hmm. I would say almost entirely there's some company that's associated with this event or thing, and there's some way to contact that company or group about that event or thing. So there's 3 things right there that I think would make a lot more sense. A very powerful headline, some sort of a subordinate thought that goes with the headline that they're calling a paragraph. Doesn't have to necessarily be a paragraph, but it is a secondary blurb of information. And then if you want to go with a speech bubble kind of thing, fine. Or if you want to go with some sort of a branding or contact information, that would be it. Now, again, I look at what it says here. Experiment with interesting typefaces, sizes, and colors, but be sure they are relevant to your topic. This whole course, in my estimation, has been an experimentation. And if you guys experimented with it, even if you failed, I would at least look at it and be able to recognize, because I'm not stupid. I may sound stupid sometimes, but I'm not. If you experimented, I would know you're experimenting. And I know when you're experimenting, and I know when you're just throwing a couple of things on the page and submitting it to me. I can see that. I mean, believe me, I've worked with this program now for so many years. that I really know when somebody's trying, even if they're failing. But if you're not trying, I also know. I can know. I can tell. I'm not dumb. So again, experiment. And when I say experiment, it's not for me. You're not trying to impress me. What you're trying to do is you're trying to show me that you're trying. And you're trying for yourself, because you're not trying for me. I get nothing out of this. I really don't. You get it, not me. But if I just basically accepted whatever you sent in and didn't care, you wouldn't be getting as much. So I really do care, and I really do look for you to experiment. So that's why I'm focusing very much on the idea of experiment. It says it right there. That's what I'm looking for. Now, it also is asking you for at least 3 photographic resources. That could be anything you want. It could be something that you're working into a montage. Amanda, you've got a piece in for critique, right?
Yes.
Off the top of your head, tell me how many different pieces that go into your montage.
And the one I did this past week?
Yeah, the one that I'm going to be looking at in a little bit.
3.
Well, there you go. So you see, she did 3 pieces to come up with a really nice little montage. And I'll tell you, Amanda, you did a great job on it, really.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for you to take 3 photographic resources. Now, do they have to be a montage? No. You could have 1 major photograph, and you could have 2 inset photographs. There's a number. It's a poster. It's a poster. I want you to use your creativity, okay? That's really what it comes down to. Be creative with it. Be experimental with it. And if it flops, if it doesn't work out quite well enough, again, I'll be able to look at it, and I'll be able to see that you've experimented with it, and I'll be able to give you some kind of a grade based on what I believe you've done as far as the experimentation. And if you want to support your piece that you submit with a statement based on what went wrong or what you think went wrong based on what you were looking for, that would do nothing but help me. See what I'm saying? Anything that you submit to me helps me. So if I see you saying to me, well, you know, you're looking at such and such a thing over here, it didn't quite work out. What I really had in mind for it was to do this, that, and the other thing. I would be able to look at that and go, oh, yeah, I see exactly what she's talking about. I might even be able to, in my critique, when I grade it, I might even be able to put in a sentence or 2 that would tell you how you could have done it in a way that might have worked. Okay, because I mean, I work with this program nearly daily. I worked on this worked in Photoshop all day today. Matter of fact, I've been working in Photoshop for the last 4 weeks on projects for this company, and it's just I'm pretty much cross-eyed at the end of the day from all that I got to do with it. Okay, so really, like I say, this is something that you're going to be using this program an awful lot. So it really does pay. Now, what's this stuff? Web production. Open resize
part to it.
What is this?
It's the second part to the poster.
Oh, so you've got, what's that? Is that the poster?
Those are 2 examples, but you have to resize the first image.
Oh, so you're going to just resize this?
And save it for the web.
Okay, so actually, I should show you how to do that. All right, so let me do that as well, just for the heck of it. I'm glad you pointed that out. Okay, so resize image at 500 pixels. Okay, so 500 px, and that's shortest. Okay, so it's 11, and 72 dpi. Okay, all right. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you how to do that. Mandy, you probably know how to do that, but I'm sure, I guarantee you there's somebody in here who does not know how to do that. So I will do that as well. And I'm assuming that that's big enough to do it with. It looks like it might be. Okay. All right, so that's basically it. Let's go back to assignments again. Let's get out of here. Go back to assignments. And I think the last thing is, let's see, assignments. The last thing is I think it's a 3-question test. Let's see if I'm not mistaken there. Week 4. Yeah, career integration. So career integration is nothing more than 3 or 4 questions, I believe, that they're asking you. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah, they want you to answer these 3. It's a quiz. There's, I guess, 3 questions in the quiz, and it mostly has to do with this course. Gives you the opportunity to speak your mind about the value that you got from this course and from this instructor. So you will get points for this, so you definitely want to take it. But you're free to say whatever you want. I mean, this is your integration.
And it tells you exactly what kind of points you will get for giving what kind of answers.
Yeah.
So it gives you all the information in that paragraph.
Yeah, I think you should answer the questions seriously. I think you should take it serious and answer the questions serious. They're not hard questions. They're very simple questions, and there's only 3 of them. So, okay, so that's that, and let's move on to the next thing. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to point out to you that this is one of the links that you're going to find in the week 4 discussions. I've actually put a document in there, and one of them is this link right here. And it's loaded with Photoshop poster tutorial designs. Look at them all. It's incredible. So, I mean, you could literally go through there and look at a dozen or more really good videos. I've got several up here that we're going to look at. They don't run very long, so it's not like I'm going to take all night doing it, but I figure it's a good idea to show you a couple of very quick ideas visually, get you used to the idea of using YouTube, because right now, until we get Linda, which should be coming soon, and I believe how it's going to work, I had a training on this, and I believe how it's going to work is it's going to start off with the instructors leading with Linda. In other words, we're going to give you links to appropriate Lindas for you. And then at some point, what's going to happen is you're going to get free access to Linda entirely, as I understand it. I'm not exactly sure how that's all going to work. I have access to Linda right now. So what I'm going to start doing probably next mod is I'm going to start not just going to YouTube for videos. I'm going to start going into Linda and pulling Linda videos out. But I don't want you guys to ignore YouTube. When you start getting Linda, YouTube has a tremendous amount of valuable resources for you, and it's free. You could use them right now, and just take advantage of that and keep that in mind. So let's look at a few of these little videos. Here's the first one. Create amazing poster in Photoshop.
In this tutorial, we'll cover how to make an amazing poster in a crunch using Adobe Photoshop. Begin by downloading a layout guide from printplace.com, found on the poster product page. We'll be using the 11 by 17 poster layout guide. When you unzip the folder, you will notice a variety of files to choose from. You can choose either landscape or portrait. You can also use front and back layouts for a double-sided poster. In this tutorial, we will be designing a one-sided portrait poster layout. So grab the 11 by 17 front portrait layout JPEG and hover it over the Photoshop icon to open it. With the layout open, you'll notice red, blue, and green lines bordering the layout. The red line represents bleed. Bleed is artwork such as background colors or images that extend farther than the trim edge of a print document. The blue line represents trim. Trim is the final size of your poster after it has been cut. By extending your design past the trim line, all the way to the bleed line, you'll ensure there are no unprinted edges. The green line represents the caution line. Anything such as text, logos, or important parts of a photo should not extend past this line. Next, go to Image, then Mode, and make sure CMYK is checked. This will ensure color accuracy in the final print. Now is an excellent time to save your PSD. Make sure you save periodically along the way. Before we start designing, it's good to set up guides within Photoshop so you can see them at all times once your layout guide is covered up. First, go to View and check Rulers. This will give you some visual reference. Now set your guides. Go to View, then New Guide. You will need to enter a new guide for every vertical and horizontal colored line. Measurements for each of the lines are listed in the video description. You're now ready to begin designing. In this section of the tutorial, you'll learn how to create the selective color photo effect and a glass or water effect on text. Let's get started. Begin by laying in your photo. Make sure the image is large enough to extend all the way past the bleed line of the document. Then right-click on the image and click Rasterize. Now duplicate your layer by selecting it and clicking Command-J. Select the copied layer and go to Image, Adjustments, and click Desaturate. For now, turn off the black and white layer and click on the color layer. Using the Quick Selection tool, begin to select the water and bridge. This will do a fairly good job for grabbing what you need. However, you may need to use the lasso tool to refine some edges. If you select an area you didn't mean to, simply hold down Alt or Option and remove the selected area. After selecting all the areas you want to show up in color, turn the black and white layer back on and select it. Now go to Select and Inverse. This changes your selection to everything but the water and bridge. Now click this button to create a mask. The mask reveals the color layer beneath. Before we start on the text, create a new layer. Now choose your gradient tool and select this preset. Then change the color to a blue that matches your poster. Back on the layer, click and drag the gradient tool along the bottom portion of the poster. This creates a solid area for the text to sit on top of. Now let's work on our text. Pick your font and type your headline. Then change your fill to 0%. Your text will disappear, but don't worry, we'll fix that in a moment. Right-click on the layer and choose Blending Options. Now click Drop Shadow. Here choose Linear Burn and set the opacity to 12%. Set the distance to 15 and size to 16. Next click Bevel and Emboss and choose Inner Bevel. Set the depth to 103% and click Up for the direction. Set the size to 13 pixels. Under Gloss Contour, choose the downwards U shape. Change the highlight mode to Linear Dodge and set it to 30% opacity. Set the shadow mode to Linear Burn and set the opacity very low, between 1 to 3%. Now click OK. You'll notice the water effect beginning to show. However, we'll have to add a few more effects to really make it pop. Duplicate the text layer using Command-J. Now right-click and choose Clear Layer Style. Again, set the fill to 0%. Right-click on the layer and choose Blending Options. For this layer, choose Inner Shadow. Set the blend mode to Linear Burn and the opacity to 25%. Set the distance and size to 15. Now choose Inner Glow. Set the opacity to 75% and size to 15. Last, choose Bevel and Emboss and set the depth between 100 and 110% and set the size to 13. Under Gloss Contour, choose the upwards U shape. For highlight mode, choose Color Dodge and set the opacity very low to around 4%. For shadow mode, choose Linear Burn and 10% for the opacity. Now click OK. One more time, duplicate the text layer, clear layer style, and set the fill to 0%. Under Blending Options, click Drop Shadow uncheck Use Global Light and set the angle to 0 degrees. Set the distance to 6 and the size to 9. Next, choose Inner Shadow. For blend mode, choose Linear Dodge and set the opacity to 25%. Set the distance to 10 and the size to 2. Set the contour to rounded steps. Next, choose Bevel and Emboss. Set the size to 46. Under Shading, uncheck Global Light and set the angle to 0 degrees. For highlight mode, choose Linear Dodge and set the opacity to 18%. Under Shadow mode, click Linear Burn and 8% for the opacity. Last, click Stroke and set the size to 6. Then click OK. The last step is adding the rest of your text. And there you go, a stunning poster ready to print. The last step is exporting a PDF. Go to File, Save As, and choose Photoshop PDF. Then, under Adobe PDF Settings, choose PDF X1A 2001. Then click Save PDF. This is the file you will submit to printplace.com for printing.
So, unfortunately, the video was a little bit on the small size, but what's really good about this is it covered almost every single thing with the exception of one thing, and that is it only used one image. You are required to do 3 images in your project. But it did everything that you had touched on, almost everything in here that you might want to do in a project like this. And it also gave you a couple of really interesting tips that you might not know about, which I'm going to talk about. The first thing, this is for a place called The Print Place. I don't know them at all. I just happened to find the video and thought this is perfect for this course. One of the things that they mentioned right off the bat was that you would get a template from them. And this is something that I find very important, and I always try to tell my students in all my classes this. When you start becoming a graphic designer, you're going to be working primarily either on the web or you're going to be working in print. And the bottom line is that you're going to, if you work on the web, you're not going to have to worry about templates. You're just going to have to worry about pixel sizes, the size of your width and your height and your resolution. But if you're going to be working in print, you're going to have to worry about things that they spoke about, like bleeds, cropping, and safety areas. This is all very important because if you create text, you don't want your text to bleed off unless it's going to bleed off deliberately. So you have to be sure that you don't put the text too close to where the page cuts out, which is the crop area. If something's bleeding, you have to allow 1/8 of an inch for bleed. So if you have a picture that's going to bleed off the page, which is a very common thing to do, you have to make sure that you have a bleed area indicated. Most of these programs allow you to set these things up. As far as margins are concerned, maybe not so much in Photoshop, but Illustrator, I don't think you can in Illustrator. I think you have to kind of make them on your own. In InDesign, you can make a margin and you can make a bleed area. So these are things that you need to know about. But they mentioned that you could get a template. They have templates, as a matter of fact. This, if you were to go in and actually look, you could probably find the link that they're talking about, which would enable you to get the templates and all the resources for this poster, if that's what you want to do. So ultimately, this, and then the next thing, this shows you things like how to duplicate a layer, how to desaturate a layer, which you remember that they did. And then what they did was they went in and they selected part of the picture using the quick selection tool mask it so that part of the picture looks desaturated, part of the picture looks like it's in full color, and it makes a very interesting presentation. Then you created a layer and you masked the bottom part of the layer with a color blue, so you had a field that you could work your text into. The rest of it more or less worked out to be a rather elaborate experiment in text, how to make text look like water. That was the whole point of that. They wanted that text to come off looking like it was beads of water.
Mm-hmm.
It did take quite a bit of work to do it, but I think if you watched this a couple of times, you'd be able to figure out very quickly what they were doing. It would make sense to you, and mostly what they're doing is just duplicating the layer, dropping out the effects, and putting new effects on multiple layers over top of one another, building the effect. That's ultimately what they're doing. Now, the last thing I want to point out to you is that if you take a look, you can just barely see it here. But you see where it says over water?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's your first bit of text. Then you see what it says right below it here? I can't really read it very well, but it says something, connect bridges across America or something like that. There's your second block of text. And down here you can see there's an address and some contact information. There's your third area of text. So why I'm bother showing you this is because your assignment involves doing these three different areas of text. And that's really the point that I wanted to make with this. Finally, what they did was also part of your project, which is to convert this thing to a PDF to send to me. And they showed you how to do that. Now, I'm going to do some of these steps myself tonight, but I just wanted to point out to you that in this particular video, and I mean, I have a bunch of other videos here, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait until the very end to look at them, because I want to go to Amanda's critique and I want to play around in Photoshop myself a little bit. Then I'll come back maybe before we end and I'll show you one or two more of these videos. But this particular video, and I just want to make sure you understand this, there's a document in your announcements that has a listing of these videos. This video is there. So you don't have to even go in through my course to watch this. You can just simply go in, open the video in announcements, and watch the video as many times as you want right off of that document. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you're good? Do you have any questions or any thoughts on that, Amanda?
No, they did good.
Okay, so I have a couple of other videos. I'm going to reserve that for now because I want to move on a little bit and start by looking at Amanda's job here. Let me bring over the layers. So this is Amanda's kitty, and this was her week 3 assignment, which was to create a fanciful character. And yeah, you created, first of all, you got a very cute cat, and you went and found very appropriate graphics. The little crown here and this little scepter is phenomenal. I mean, they almost work perfectly. I mean, you got the color reasonably balanced on this. They sort of look like they exist in the same environment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you're really looking for. So let's sort of take this apart for a second and see what we got. So the first thing that we have here is the kitty down here. And then you have the background color, or the background copy, which you've masked the eyes out. And I assume the reason that you masked the eyes out was so that you could play with the hue and saturation of the eyes, which is exactly what she did. She came in here and she played with the hue and saturation, and I guess what she did was messed around with it like this, like I'm doing now, just dragging this thing around until she got the eyes to do what she wanted them to do. Is that a fair estimate of what you did, Amanda?
Yeah, because of the gold in the picture, I wanted to give them more of a green tone than what they were originally.
Okay, so I just messed this all up on you, but I'm just trying to show.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, that's
exactly what I did.
Yeah, so basically that's what she did. She literally came in here, made herself a mask, and then she used hue and saturation to, and again, if you hide that, you can see it goes away. So really the only thing on this layer that's showing are those two little eyes right there. The background layer is where you're getting, see? The background layer is where you're getting the cat from. this is where you're getting the little eyes from. And you did a very nice job masking that. I mean, that works the best out of everything in here. And then you have your crown, okay, which you brought in. Here's your crown. This is the crown that she found. So this is her original crown. And this, I don't know, it looks like it's part of some bigger thing. It might be some kind of a frame of some sort. I'm not sure.
It was. There weren't many crowns to choose from on the site that we were.
Well, you did very well. This worked beautifully, and I can see why. Because this thing is really not a whole crown. It's sort of like half of a crown that's a bas relief. It sort of relieves out, and this is part of a frame. So once you get rid of all this stuff around it, you end up with this, which is a really, let me hide the rest of this stuff, really good crown, because it does sort of look like it's going a little bit back because of this, but it stops right here so that when you put your cat into it, the cat, it almost sits like it almost looks like it's sitting on the cat's head in a very appropriate way. Now, of course, it's a little cocked to one side, a little cocky, but cats can be a little cocky, so, you know, that's not a problem. It works. It looks very real, very good. And now the last thing that she did here was play around with the hue and saturation, which I think is great, because it shows me that not only did she bring the crown in, but she thought about adjusting it in such a way that it perhaps looked a little bit more realistic within the context of this cat. And to be honest with you, I think your choice of the color, and again, all she did was something like this, where she came in and she played around with the hue and saturation on it, and that's what she did. And again, she also used the Alter Option key to lock that hue and saturation layer to layer 1. Get in the habit of doing this. Here's one thing I suggest to you, Amanda. Get in the habit, and the reason I do this is because I work with Photoshop all the time. And always in the back of my mind, I say to myself, what happens if I quit my job, or what happens if they fire me? If I quit my job or they fire me, then somebody else is going to do the work after me. And they're going to have to look at my work and try to figure out what my work is, what's going on in my work. Where you have layer 1 here.
I forgot to name my layers.
That's right. Get in the habit of making sure that you name your layers appropriately, so that if, for instance, I'm part of a team working with you and you work on something and I have to finish that work, it's easier for me to take instructions from you if you make notes for me saying, go into the crown layer and work with the crown layer. I'm not happy with the color. Maybe you could work the color out for me. Or some such thing as that. Again, if you say layer 1, I could probably figure it out too. But it's just more professional for you to name the layers in an appropriate way.
And I even stressed that in my little tutorial last week as to how I usually meticulously go in and name my layers as I create them, and yet I forgot to do that this time.
Yes, all right. It's no big deal. But again, as I say, I'm saying this for the benefit of everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Get into the habit of naming your layers. It's really important that you do that. For no other reason that right here you've got only a handful of layers. But I have to tell you something. I've worked on projects where I've had stacks of layers in the 30s and 40s. And when you start getting 30 and 40 layers in there, if you're calling things layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, or worse, okay, you're going to have a nightmare, an absolute nightmare trying to figure out what you're doing, okay? And even this hue and saturation, what you should do is you should call this crown, crown hue, you know, CROWN, and then maybe underscore HUE. Because see, here's the thing that you have to understand. You have the icon right here. So the icon will ultimately lead you to where you want to go. All you have to do is say what it is. Now you got hue and saturation. This could be I. And then underscore hue. See? So again, what you're doing is you're making this so it makes more sense. Background copy, I'd call this eyes, EYES. See what I mean? Yeah. And then ultimately, even down the road, what you do is unlock that layer and you can call this cat. Okay, so now you
Okay.
basically got pretty much everything. Here's crown, C-R-O-W-N, and you see you even have dragon staff, and there's your dragon staff. Okay, so now basically you have all these layers named in such a way that it makes perfect sense for whoever's going to come in and work on this later on, or even for yourself. And what I generally do is I'm working, as I build these layers, I try to remember to put the names in as I'm working on them. Or if I may go, if I'm in a like a frenzy, I may go 2 or 3 layers, and then suddenly after I reach the point where I think I've pretty much got the crisis dealt with, I'll go back in and change the layers at that point. But always keep it in mind, and I'm not just saying this to waste time, it is a good idea to learn, especially in a program that's layer directed like this. And when you're in Illustrator, if you're doing things in Illustrator, you want to do the same thing in Illustrator. You want to go in and make sure that you do the same thing. So then what she finally did here was she came in and she created a mask. Let's go disable a layer mask. There's your image. So what I'm showing you here is this is the image that she used, right? Is that what it looks like, Amanda?
Yep, that was it.
There's the image, and what I did was I just simply disabled the mask for a second so you could see her work. Now when I apply her mask, you could see her work. She did a beautiful job. You did a really, really beautiful job of silhouetting that rather complex piece of art. So I'm going to tell you, this is a very impressive project that you did. You did a very good job with it. And what I want you all to understand is I'm not just schmoozing Amanda here. The important thing that I'm trying to get across is that I know what I'm doing with this program, and I know what I'm looking at, and I know what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this. I'm looking to be able to look through this whole thing and see what you did, because I want to see you learn. I want you to be able to do this. I already know how to do this, and I can see Amanda knows how to do it. I'm looking for you guys to be able to do that. That's what I'm looking for. And by having a PSD file right here, having a PSD file, and having the layers in here named, I can do what I just did when I'm grading you. I could go in and I could sort of pick this apart and look at the different things that you did and say that Amanda did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 things. About 8 different things in here. 9 if you call the duplication. She did 9 different things to get that little pussycat. And I'll tell you what, the one thing that she did phenomenally is that dragon staff. She did such a beautiful job. Look at that. Look at the silhouette job she did on that. I'll be honest with you, man, I couldn't do any better. I truly couldn't do any better. You did as good a job as I would do on it. Now, also keep in mind, Amanda, that you could do things like you can put effects on them. You know, like you could come in here and you can put an effect like an inner shadow. Okay, you see how I just applied an inner shadow? You could come in and you could play around with the inner shadow, and you could make it look even more cool by dragging and making these inner shadows. Let's see what it looks like if you darken up. See what you could do with that?
Yeah.
You could come in and you could put an inner shadow on it. You could change the direction of it. See what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So there, you can also do stuff like this. You can also do a drop shadow on it. I'm not sure the drop shadow is really going to work the way I want it to work here. It isn't really going to work on this. That's not the piece to put a drop shadow on, so let's get that out of there. But I'm just pointing out to you that that's also, you could put effects on things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so keep that in mind, guys, that you could do this. And like I say, you did a really beautiful job on this. And it's a really nice, get that effect out of there, because in this case, I don't think, actually, you know what? I think here's what you want. You want that effect to be the other direction. That's what I think you want. You want it to be down here. There you go. That's better.
Yeah, I like
There.
that.
That works. That works a little bit better. And then I don't know what I did with this. I think I ultimately,
Yeah,
that's showing. That's all. The layer showing. Yeah, you left that. And I also commend you for leaving the crown layer for me to look at.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's another good thing, is that when you do something like this, you can keep those elements in there because you can hide those layers. But that's it. Very beautiful job. Really nice. This is good. And again, perfect presentation. So that's my critique on that one. Let me get this out of here. Save it. No. Save changes. No. Okay, so now I'm going to show you my posters. This is one of them. And what I did essentially was I took one of the posters that existed in there and I modified it because I thought, you know, in this case, I just wanted to play around with text. Now, I got 2 lines of text here. And really 3 lines of text are necessary, but I got 2 lines of text here just so I could show you how I did this. And again, very simple. I'm not doing anything elaborate. I'm not doing anything different to start off with. I'm looking for you guys to do some experimenting on your own, but it can be rather simple. A lot of times I find that when you work with a poster like this, a lot of times it pays to be simple. You don't want to make things too elaborate. I'll give you an example. Here's another one, cigarettes PSD. This is my poster. That's the actual poster. The text is missing. So I don't know whether I have the one with the text here. Let me just see. I think I do, actually. Let me go find the one, week 4. Where's my poster? Here it is. That's what the actual poster looks like. Go ahead and blow yourself away. CigarettesKillPeopleTheTruth.com. Now, this picture here has 3 elements, but 2 of them are photos and 1 is a generated element. That's that smoke. The cigarette I actually created from a flat cigarette, and this is the gun, the Smith & Wesson, which I modified so that it's a Smith & Wesson. Instead of a barrel, it's got a cigarette on it. And then the title, go ahead, and then the second line of text, blow yourself away, and then your third line, CigarettesKillPeopleTheTruth.com. So if you did something similar to this, and then this element here was just a curving line of white, a thick curving line of white that I blurred using Gaussian blur, and I end up looking, it looks like smoke running up. So that's really how I did that. And it ends up something like this. Let's go back to Photoshop. So what I'll do now on this one is, again, you can see if I come in here, there's my smoke, okay? And as I told you, that smoke essentially is nothing more than just, I used a pen tool, or actually, how did I use it? I think I used a brush tool, and I drew a line with the brush tool in white. And then I thickened it and I blurred it using filter, blur, and Gaussian blur, which I have to have a layer selected in order to get that filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And Gaussian blur ultimately is what I use to get that smoky kind of effect, okay? And then this end here, there's a little bit of a burn. You can see that little red thing in there?
Yep.
You see that I actually created that using an effect.
Yeah, because you want it up here to be lit, because otherwise they're
right. There's the ash right there. There's the ash part of it, and there's the paper burn. Okay, so I added actually a little bit of paper burn here, which is just basically a little sloppy bit of color to make that paper look like it's burning. And then this ash, which I actually created from ash from a cigarette. I just kind of created it. I sort of painted it in there is what I did. And then this here is a hue saturation layer that I needed because I wasn't getting the right look on that, which is the filter paper. You see? And also, I guess you can see here that I pretty much have all of my layers named. See? Right. So when I do this kind of stuff, when I say this to you, I say this because, you know, again, I might have to show this art to somebody and how I did it. And it helps for me to have the layers so you can see what I'm showing you. So there's your filter paper right there. That's hidden. And I got the filter paper here. Let me show I got the filter paper. There's the filter paper. What I did was I literally selected the center part of that filter paper and I turned it into a pattern, a repeating pattern. That's what I did. And then I put the pattern into that filter. Let me get this back up. That's how I created that filter paper. And then the cigarette shadow, I had to create the cigarette shadow because that's the cigarette without the shadow, and you need the shadow to make it look real. So right. Shadow. And if you take a look at that, let's hide the background and let's take a look at the shadow. Here's the shadow. It just literally is it's a selection with a gradient on it that kind of makes it look a little bit correcter, more correct.
Yeah, it gives that rounded look.
Right, and then let's bring all
Otherwise
this
it's
back.
flat.
Bring all this back, and there's the revolver. So essentially what I did was I silhouetted the revolver very much like you silhouetted the crown and that scepter, Amanda. I literally went in there and I selected the parts of the revolver that I wanted so that I would have the body of the revolver. I could tuck it in the corner like that, and then I could start adding the elements to it. Now that is the first element, which is my cigarette. That's my basic cigarette. And I created that just using a series of simple tools like my oval tool, and I connected the area, the two ovals with lines, filled it in, and I created that back end there, over which I then put my shadow, and then I put my filter paper over top of that, and that's sort of where it got. And I looked at that and I thought, that color just isn't right. So again, went in with the hue and saturation, and I'm not sure how I did this. I believe look, what I did was I changed the hue, moved the hue up about 17 points in the positive, and I desaturated it by 29, meaning essentially that I took that color and I removed 29 points of that color to get that color right there. And that's basically how I did that. Then I added the paper burn. See, there's the little area of paper burn, and I did that sort of by painting it in. And then I applied the ash, which I created from an ash that I had, and I kind of painted that, again, sort of painted it until I got the shape that I want. So you just got to play with it. And I'm going to be totally honest with you. I had a lot of fun doing this. I really had a lot of fun doing this. It wasn't the easiest thing to do, but it was a lot of fun to do. And it was worth it because after I got all done with it, I had something that looked really good. Then the burn, there's the burn. All that is just a tiny bit of color that I applied in there, and I applied effect to it and got that little burning color. So when you put the smoke there, between the smoke and the burn and the ash and the cigarette, it looks sort of like a burning cigarette.
Right.
So that's the whole poster. And then I just simply came in, and let me get my original open again so I can remember what I wrote, because again, I don't exactly remember what I wrote, and I don't have that saved. So what I would do then is add the text to it. So to add the text to it, there's my poster layer. I'm going to come in and I'm going to select my text tool, and I'm just going to click anywhere I want right there, and I'm going to type go ahead. Is that right? Yeah, go ahead. That's it. Go ahead. Now I got it selected again. There we go. Go ahead.
Your text is black.
Yeah, but that's okay. I'm going to fix it. So I come in, and now I can double click to select it. I can come up here and I can make it white. That's all I really need to do is make it white. I hit it like that. Move it over a little bit. Get it to about where I want it, somewhere like that. If I want to reselect my text, I just double click on the T. And then I come in here and I got this is a Myriad Pro regular. I don't exactly know. I think I went with a Myriad Pro semi-bold. Might even been bold. Let's try it at bold. I think that might be it. Let's go Myriad Pro bold. There we go. Okay, Myriad Pro bold. And I don't know what size it was off the top of my head. I'm going to try 60. Not big enough. Let's try 72. Still not big enough. Let's go.
I don't know if you went with a Myriad Pro unless you you forced the text.
No, you know what it is? I think it's actually, let me double click on that. I think it was actually Myriad Pro bold condensed. Bold condensed. That's what it was. It was Myriad Pro bold condensed. That's what it was. And I think it was actually even a little bit bigger than that. It was probably about 125, maybe 120. And again, it doesn't really matter all that much. You just basically, this is what you're doing. You're setting up some text. Now, a lot of times, I think you're going to find that when you create posters like this, you don't necessarily want the poster to be just jam-packed full of information.
No.
A lot of times less is more, or simpler is better.
You don't want to overwhelm it.
You don't need to overwhelm it. I mean, if you have a very strong graphic, that I think that the concept of a gun, in this case, and what we're doing is a public awareness. I think that's the theme of this poster. Is
environmental, social, or one other option.
Yeah, something like that. So, I mean, maybe this isn't exactly.
Political, maybe the third.
Yeah, this may not be exactly, but it falls within the category of that. And again, what I'm doing is I'm just doing something that's very simple. That's really what we're doing here, something very simple. So now what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag this down and duplicate that layer. And then I can take that layer that's duplicated and I can bring it down a little bit. And I can double click on that. And I can change it to Blow Yourself Away. BLOWYOURSELFAWAY. There. Blow Yourself Away. Select it again and bring this down from 125 to, let's say, around 70. Let's see what 70 looks like. It's a little bit bigger than it should be. Now, this is where it gets tricky, because what you want to try to do is you want to try to get it to sort of match up pretty much beneath that. So you'll probably have to play with this a little bit. Let's try 60. And that's pretty close. And again, if I don't get it perfect, it doesn't matter, because I'm only trying to show you how this works. Now, the other thing is both of these lines, I can select both of them and I can go up here and I can line them vertically. Okay, you see how I did that? Mm-hmm. Okay, and then this Blow Yourself Away line, I would actually drag that a line above it, because I think the heading goes above that. And then what I can do is, with it selected, this is my selection tool, or the move tool. With the move tool selected and the go ahead, I can use the down arrow to bring that text down to as close to the Blow Yourself Away as I want it to be. And to be totally honest with you, as a graphic designer, when I'm working on something like this, when I have a go-ahead, blow yourself away kind of a situation, I tend to like the text to be very tight to one another, And what I might do with this is I might actually select the the Blow Yourself Away, and instead of making this Myriad Pro bold condensed, I might come down and go Myriad Pro semi-bold condensed, if I even have it. I may not have it. I don't have it. Regular, yeah, that's too small. Pro bold condensed, Pro condensed. It's probably closer to what I want, but now I'm going to have to go back up to maybe 70. Let's try 70 now and see if that does it. Let's try 68. Let's try bringing in just a little bit more. 68. I think I could probably live with that. That's pretty close. If I select both of these, I can come up here and I can align them horizontally, and they appear to be aligned horizontally. Okay, now, so I more or less got that looking kind of the way I want it. Now, the reason that I'm being so fussy about this is that my type is going to be very simple type. I'm not going to be doing the big effect that you saw in that last video. This is all just it's a black poster, very dramatic, and then you want very bold, very clean, very easy to read text. So again, I'm not going to go play a lot of tricks with this. It's just going to be very bold. And I want the go ahead to almost be shouting, almost as if you're shouting or challenging somebody. And then Blow Yourself Away is, where you've come back down a notch or two. So go ahead, blow yourself away. That's kind of the feeling that you get when you look at this.
You want to create a good hierarchy as to where your eye goes with the text.
That's right. Now that I've done that, it's floating too high. So with them both selected like that, I can just down arrow this thing and I can move it anywhere I want it to go. I can bring it as close as I want. It might be too close, but again, when people talk about white space or dead space or free space, don't be afraid to have negative space or free space when you are working on a poster. Free space can really work well. And in a situation like that, okay, that much free space may seem like an egregious amount of free space. But when you're dealing with an image that's like this, the whole thing happens in here, and this is just atmosphere. And that's perfectly fine. There's no problem with that, you know? So there's my first two lines. And then cigarettes kill people, the truth. If I want, I can go ahead with blow yourself away. I can drag that to duplicate that again. And then I can move that down. Let's move it down. Bring it down to about where I want it. Somewhere in right about there. Move it over until it's in this area. And I'm going to change what it says from blow yourself away. Oh, I got the wrong one. Let's grab that one and drag that down below that one. Whoops, it went in the wrong place. Let's bring it up out of there. There we go. Now we got it. Okay, I select that, and it's going to say cigarettes kill people. And then I'm going to hit, this is, you'll notice that this is center aligned. Can you see that, everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that means my paragraph is center aligned. So when I hit enter, I get that. And then I'm going to type in the truth, THETRUTH.com. And I'm going to leave it set at all lowercase because it is actually a .com. And you want it to be like that. So now that I have this like this, I can look at it and say, well, it's too big. That's the first thing I'm going to do. So I'm going to set this thing up to be a little bit smaller. I'm going to bring it down to about 50 points. Let's try about 48. It probably needs to be bigger. So let's go about 55. Try about 55, do that. 55. Yeah, I think that's probably pretty good. The second line, what I think I'm going to do with the second line is bring it down to about 30. Probably too small. So let's go up to 36. And that might be, let's see, where did it go to there? About like that. Yeah, I'd probably be okay. There. So now I have that. Now, the only other thing that you might do with this is select this thing. It's not selecting. Come on. Well, you know why? It's frozen. Hold on. There we go. Okay, now we got it. That's the wrong one. That's it. Okay, so I've got it selected. Now, what I could do is open up my panels here and my character panel, and you notice that my leading, you know what leading is, right? That's line spacing.
Mm-hmm.
Leading is the space between the two lines of text. So what I did was, in case you don't know what I just did, I'll shut it and show you. With the text selected, right here are your character and your paragraph panels. So if you double click on that, you'll get your character and your paragraph panel. And I want my character. I don't really need my paragraph with this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to change my leading to about 36. And now if I deselect that, you can see it begins to look a lot more like that, which is what I'm looking for. Now, there's one final thing that's going to make this thing look good, and that is that instead of leaving cigarettes kill people, the truth, as dead white, which immediately conflicts with the go ahead and blow yourself away. See, again, as I say, what I'm doing is I'm employing designer thinking here. Mm-hmm. That's what a lot of this is. It's just really, as a designer, you know, I'm putting space, I'm putting things in space, I'm using negative space, I'm defying people by leaving big blocks of dead space up there. These are things that designers do. These are choices that you make. And I've been doing this I've been doing this since 1979. So I've been doing this for a very long time. So, I mean, these things just come very naturally to me. So I look at this and I say, okay, go ahead, blow yourself away. That's my number one statement. That's the thing that should be big and bold and out there. So the rest of this text, which isn't a lot of text, should be a little bit secondary to that. So if I select that text, and if I come in here and if I change the color, instead of making it dead white, if I bring it down and give it a kind of a smoky appearance to kind of match the smoke color by darkening it a little bit, the question is exactly how far dark do I go? I think I probably want to go a little bit darker. I got to be careful not to go too dark. So I may end up doing this more than once to get the color just right. But you see, all I did here was I'll cancel to show you. Here's the color. That with this selected, with that text selected, that's where you go to get the color for that text. Okay? I hope you understand that. This is the properties bar. This properties bar will change depending upon whatever object you had selected. In this case, I have the text selected. So anything that happens up here in this property bar relates to the text that I got selected. I hope that's clear. I'm pretty sure Amanda knows what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So with that in mind, I can double click on that, and now I got my color picker, which I can then, as I was doing before, drag down, and I can kind of smoky up that text a little bit. And it looks like it's not quite where I want it to be yet, so I'm going to bring it down a little lower. See how it's darkening? It's starting to show?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to come down quite a bit to get it where I want it. That's it. Hit OK. Now, when I deselect that, can you see how very subtly I've taken the word "go ahead, blow yourself away" and made that the predominant text on this poster? And
Yes.
I've taken the word "cigarettes kill people, the truth.com" and I've made that the secondary thought. Not that cigarettes kill people, the truth.com isn't important. It's a very important part of the message, because obviously this whole thing is to get you to go to the truth.com. But what's really important here is, what's the point of that graphic? The point of that graphic is, go ahead, blow yourself away. It's a play on words. First of all, you smoke, you blow, you shoot a bullet, you blow. You see what I'm saying? You blow yourself away, you play Russian roulette, you smoke a cigarette, you blow it out. Either way, you're killing yourself. That's the whole message with this. So there's my poster. That's basically how I would produce a poster for something like this. I tried to give you in a nutshell how I did it. Any questions, Amanda? Did you have anything you need to ask me about or want to ask me about, or any comments about the presentation that you want to make?
Not really. I mean, I think you did a good job. I think you did a good job of explaining how to portray your main statement against the secondary text that you want to portray.
Yeah.
I've always been told, like in posters like this, that you want a sans serif font as your main headline, which is what you have going here. Mm-hmm. Because serif fonts are going to get in your way and make it.
Hold on a second. I would agree more with that. I would agree more with that on the web than I would in a poster. As far as a poster is concerned, Amanda, you can pretty much do whatever you want to do if it works. I mean, that's really a poster. People look at posters as probably the closest that graphic designers come to creating fine art. I mean that in all sincerity. Because what it is, it's a singular piece that goes up on a wall and people admire it. That's what it's all about. And usually the designer is trying to be very creative with a poster. So I would say to you that it's pretty much open and free. I tend to like sans serif fonts as a designer. I don't know why that is. It's just I tend to like the sans serif font a lot more than I like serif fonts, and I use a lot more sans serif fonts in my design. But you know, you could talk to 15 different designers and get different opinions on that. But I would just say to you that
it depends on the font and what look you're going for. But yeah, most of the time I prefer sans serif.
Yeah, well, that's cool. I have no problem with that. But again, I'm saying in this particular context, I want you guys to be creative and have fun. I really do. I'm looking for you to have fun. Now, so the next thing is, real quickly, go to image and image size, and you can see that this is set to inches. This is set to 11 by 17. So was that actually the size?
Yes.
Yeah, 11/17. Okay, so this is an 11 by 17 poster. So I just wanted to quickly give you an idea that even beyond the fact that I'm creating a poster for you here, I'm creating it to the proper proportions. Now, I'm going to hit OK because obviously I don't have to change that, do I?
No.
No. So we're good to go with this. You can trust this. Now, let me just go in and do this, though. Let's go File, New, and let me show you how to set up a basic document. Amanda, you probably know how to do this, but what I'm saying to you is that there's probably people in the room that would probably not know how to do this. So
no problem.
Yeah, I would want to come in and I would want to show them how to go about this. So I'm going to call this my poster. Okay, my poster. Now the document type, you could come in here and you could play around with this if you want, but, and look, I have cigarettes PSD, so obviously I actually saved this as a preset. You could do this, but I'm going to set this up for you. I'm going to set this to inches. So if you see here, you can actually come in here and choose for your width and height. Pixels, inches, centimeters, millimeters, points, picas, columns. I generally use pixels, I generally use inches, and I generally do not use any of these others. I just don't. So, I mean, whether you do or not, it's up to you. But as a designer, I use pixels, I use inches, I set this to inches. So what I'm going to do is, now that I've got it set to inches, you'll notice that both of them switch to inches, okay? So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go, since I did this particular piece as a portrait, I'm going to go landscape this time, which is the other one. So this one is going to be 17 inches, and the height will be 11 inches. Okay, and again, this is just to show you how the other looks. Now the resolution is set to 72 pixels per inch, which isn't what we want. We want 300. So I would come in and set that to 300. So far, the name of your new document, which is what you would be creating to create your poster, says my poster, or name it however you need to name it to send it to me, right? Amanda, there's a certain way that you name it. Of course, the instructor and the assignment, is that how they do it?
I have my own file naming conventions. Some instructors have theirs listed in their syllabus, and some don't.
Okay. I don't think they specified anything in these, so, but I would like you to put in the course your name and I guess a title for the assignment. Simple.
I usually title mine underscore what assignment it is, my first initial, last name, and then the course.
Okay, that would work. That would be fine.
So it's long, but it...
Yeah, so something like that would be fine, just as long as you get enough information that it makes sense for what you're submitting. But also, you guys are submitting, it comes into your grade area anyway, so it really isn't that big of an issue in the end. So, okay, so back to this. Name it. The width, height is going to be however you decide to do it. This case, 17 wide, 11 high, 300 pixels, not 30. Color mode, leave the color mode set to RGB, because mine, if you take a look at mine, cigarettes PSD, notice what it is. Can you see it there, Amanda? What does it say?
It's RGB.
Yeah, RGB. So I'm going to show you how to convert that to CMYK. Background contents, I generally just don't bother with them. Leave them set to white. You got color profile. Don't worry about this right now, because at this point, this is just for the course. But the color profile, there's a bunch of different color profiles, and it has a lot to do with what you're working on. Okay, so right now sRGB is fine for our purposes. So once you have this basically done, and again, 17 by 11 or 1117, 300 and RGB, you're going to hit OK, and you're going to end up with that, which is basically your poster, and this is landscape as opposed to my cigarette, which is
portrait.
That's it. No big deal. Okay, so I hope that's clear enough. That's what it will look like if you were going to do it this way, and then you would literally come in here now and start building your piece. Okay, everybody cool?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get rid of that because I don't need it anymore. Now, so what I'm going to do is two things. I'm going to do part of the assignment, which is to save this piece for submission. So the first thing that you're going to do is, right now, the thing is cigarettes PSD. It's set to 12. This is interesting, and you should know this. It's set to 12.5%. What does that mean? That means that this size right here is 12.5% of 11 by 17. So if I go to the View menu and I go 100%, you see what happens? It's so big because it's 1117 that's what 100% looks like. And now it says cigarettes PSD at 100%. Okay? So do you understand?
Yep.
Go to the View menu, fit on screen. So now I fit it on screen, and it's 15.6% to fit it on screen. So that's really what it is. You're now looking at 15% of this. So the thing that I want to do before I export this as a PDF is I want to go image mode, and I want to change it from RGB. Okay, so I go to the image menu, mode, and RGB, I'm going to convert it to CMYK right there. That's all you got to do. Click CMYK. Changing modes will discard an adjustment layer. Oh, you know what? Let me hit cancel. And let's do this. Let's first save this thing. Let's go in and save this as file save as. And let's save this as cigarettes _2. So I'm saving this as cigarettes _2 and hit OK. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go layer, merge visible. And now I have all of that merged into cigarettes _2 PSD. So I no longer have that adjustment layer. I'm going to go image mode, CMYK, and I'm going to just leave it the way it is, hit OK. Now this it says what?
CMYK.
Okay, so that's really all it is. In other words, when you're ready to do this, you're just going to go in there, convert it to CMYK, and now you're going to go and save it as a PDF. File, save as, and we're going to go into DES week 4, cigarettes 2. This I'm going to drop down, and I'm going to choose Photoshop PDF right there. Photoshop PDF, save as type, Photoshop PDF. And notice that there are no PDFs in here. So this will be the only one in here. I hit save. And it is done. Now what I can do is I can go into here, go to week 4. What happened? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, this is the PDF.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself. This is the save as PDF dialog box. Now this allows you to preserve the editing capabilities. If you did not want this to be editable, if you didn't want me to be able to open this, you would deselect that. But you want to leave it, so you will. You'll leave it there, okay? And then I'm going to hit Save PDF. And there we go, hit OK. And now I can come in here, and if you take a look in week 4, you'll see that somewhere in here is a PDF. Let's see, where is it? Where are you? Why am I not seeing it? Oh, there it is, right there, cigarettes 2 PDF. Okay, so there's your PDF file. Double click on it, you open it up, and there's your PDF. It's going to be set to 105. I don't know. It would take me a minute for this thing to show. I don't know why it's not showing. Let's fit it. It's evidently taking a lot longer to process this thing. There it is. Oh, what happened to that? That came out looking pretty weird. Wait a minute. I think I know what happened. Let's see here. I don't know what happened. Let's try it again. File, save as. Cigarettes 2, Photoshop PDF. Let's hit save. Replace it, yes. Hit OK. Hit save PDF. Let's hit OK. I have a feeling it's going to do the same thing. I'm not exactly sure why. Let's take a look again. Open this up. Come on. What's this all about? I don't want that. Here we go. I have a feeling it's going to do the same thing. Whatever it is, it's having a hard time processing it. It might be the size. It could be the size. That could be what the problem is. Could be the size. Yeah, see, when I do that, I still get that look. So something's going wrong with this, which shouldn't be going wrong with it. But anyway, that's the process. That's how you save it. I don't know why. I don't see anything in there that would cause it to do that. You go to the view menu. Go select load selection. I wonder. Nope, I don't see it in there. I don't know. I'm not sure why that's happening. Let's do this. Let's close out of there. And let's save this. No. Let's go back and let me open it one more time. Let me try one more thing real quick. I'm just a little bit concerned why that's doing that. Cigarettes, let's open this up. All right, so let's see what we got here. We got my poster, we got my cigarettes. Let's get rid of that. All right, let's get rid of that. Okay, so I got rid of all that. Let's see if there's anything in here that's going to do this. No, I don't see anything in there that would do that. All right, so let's go File, Save As, and let's try this one. Try that as a Photoshop PDF. Where are you at? Photoshop PDF. There we go. And call this cigarette _ alt. And let's hit save. Let's see what happens now with this. Hit OK. Well, you know what? I'm going to end up not getting my text because I didn't save the text evidently. So let's see if I get this. Let's see if I at least get this. See if I get this right. Week 4. Let's see if I get my poster without it. There we go. And I still get it. I don't know. I don't know why that's doing that. But at any rate, you shouldn't have that happen to you because that has something to do with my my piece. So let me close that out. You know what? Maybe let me try something here. I got another idea. If I can open up this, let's go to week 4, and let's go to my JPEG. I got a good idea how to do this, how to get around this. Let's get my JPEG and let's open my JPEG up. Okay, so there's my JPEG. Let's go image size. What size is that? Yeah, so image size. And this is the one that I've reduced, so that isn't really going to do it. It's not really going to do it. All right, so you know what? Just trust me on this. You're not going to have a problem. Mine I had a problem with because there was some kind of a masking thing going on that was blocking me. But don't you worry about it. Yours probably will not do that. Let's go to the nature. Okay, let's go to the nature one real quick. So here's my nature one. And what I want to show you with this is the same thing where I basically just came in here and I created some text. Okay, so I'm not going to bother doing the text again because you saw it, but I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about setting up the text and creating a couple of effects to it. I have a couple of different things going on here. This text I'm going to get rid of. What I did with this is I took this text, which was normal text, and I colored it. And the way I colored it was I selected it, and then I went into here, clicked on the color, bring my color over here, and then I went in and I looked for color, and I tried to find some kind of a nice little color that I liked. And you see how I grabbed that little bit of red color there? Or if I come over here, I can click on that color.
Mm-hmm.
See? So anywhere I go in here, I can click on and get a nice color. I'm looking for something really nice. And I even wanted something a little bit greener. That's a little too green, but I probably could do this at the same time. Just drag that over a little bit like that to make it lighter. That's closer to what I had originally. Hit OK. So that's essentially what I did to get that nature. And then what I did was I added an inner shadow to it. Now if I open that inner shadow up, you can see that what I did again was I clicked on the color and I went in here and I found a color. You see how I changed it ever so slightly by clicking on it?
Mm-hmm.
So really all I'm doing is I'm trying to pick colors from within the poster to color the word nature with. Hit OK. And again, I'm not using, I'll hit OK on this, I'm not using a whole lot of things. I'm using only 2 things here for this word only, nature. And then I got my drop shadow, okay, which you can see I think it looks a lot better with the drop shadow because it sets it off a little bit. If you put that there like that, it almost looks like that's punching a hole. Whereas this looks like it's more along the lines of something that's sitting up in front of that, which is what you're looking for. And then I did the same thing again, where I took this text and I just basically duplicated the text, changed the size, changed the text to read, "Take care of nature as she took care of you." And there's my poster. Let me go to image and let's go to image size. And let's see what size this is. So this is 200 pixels. The inches, it's 3 inches by 3 3/8 inches. So this is not really the size that we want for our poster. But this is a good size for us to change down to show you how to make this thing 500 pixels high by 72 DPI. So once again, what I'm going to do is go to the image menu and go image size, and using this thing right here connected, if I deselect this, then what happens is if I change these numbers, they're not going to link together and change at the same time. So what I'm looking for is looking for that constrained aspect ratio to be selected. When it is selected, you see how those two lines run from width to height. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
That means that when I come in here and I change this, now another thing too is this is set to inches. So what I want to do is I want to come in here and I want to change it to pixels. And notice that this is 600 pixels. So what I'm looking for, and this height is actually 776 pixels. So that's the greater number, 776 pixels. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for that 776 pixels to be 500 pixels. And the resolution is going to be 72, not 200. So right now I've got set to...
You only had 50.
Yeah, I know. So I'm going to set this up to 500. There we go, to 375.72. Now, the only thing you might want to do is, since you're reducing this, you might want to come down here and bicubic sharper. That's for reduction. So that's really what you're looking for. You're looking for it to say 72 pixels per inch, 500 pixels high by whatever it comes out to be wide. That's really what it comes out to, okay? So I will hit OK, and now that right there, image size is 500 pixels by 72. Okay, that's all there is to it. That's all you really have to do to make this thing work. I'm going to go File, Save for Web. Where are we at here? Where's it at? File, Save As. Where's my Save for Web? Would they remove it? They get rid of it? That can't possibly be they removed it. What's going on? Am I losing my mind here? This is the latest version of Photoshop. Did they remove Save for Web?
No, it was on there the last time, but I only used the shortcut.
I don't see it. Do you see it?
I saw it last week, but I only used the shortcuts. So
No, last week I changed my version from Creative Cloud 14 to 15. And I cannot believe that they dropped.
I think I updated mine too. I swear I saw it.
Well, let's save it as a JPEG, and we're going to go save, and I'm saving it in my week 4. Hit save. It already exists. I'm going to overwrite it, no problem. And here, if you want, you could come in here and you can optimize it. This is 170.5K, so probably I'm going to bring it down to about 10. I'm going to try to go a little bit lower. 74, that's 8. I'm going to try at 8 and see how that works. Let's hit OK. And now let's go over here and let's see if we can find our web. There it is, Nature Web. Click on it. There it is. Okay? That's it. And if you think that looks okay, then you can basically submit it. If you don't like the way it looks, you can go back in and you could do this again. Go File, Save As, and you can choose JPEG, and hit Save, and replace it. And this time, if you want, you can come up to 9, and that's probably, let's go about 9, let's go 10. See what 10 gives me. 102, that's a lot. I think 9. Let's try 9, hit OK. That might be all right. Let's see how that looks, and then open it. There you go. And that's all there is, really, to sending it. Now, I'm very surprised that this Save for Web is gone. I'm actually shocked that I'm not finding it in there. I'm going to have to look that up and see what the deal is with that, because that just completely blows my mind. That Save for Web is a really good dialog box. And
it really is. Does the shortcut still work?
You know, the only thing I can think of is that, like I told you, this is a brand new version of Creative Suite, and I'm wondering if in Creative Suite they just did away with that. I can't imagine that they did. I can't imagine, but it's not there. I don't know. It's not a plugin. I mean, it's part of the program. So if it's
Right.
on, they must have removed it. There you go. That's it. We're done. I don't know. Is there anything else you need to know that you can think of?
Not me.
All right. So that's it. That's really what I wanted to show you. Do you think I covered everything? Is there anything I should have covered? We looked at how to create the actual document, how to export it. We worked with layers. We worked with a little bit of effects on it. We worked with type, which is essentially what we're supposed to be working with. I guess we pretty much covered it all, right?
I think so.
So, yeah, okay. So, all right. So one thing I may do is I got one or two. Let's hit save. No. Let's close all this stuff up. And I got one or two videos still that we could look at that are kind of good. Let's see which one we want to look at here. I haven't seen this one yet. Let's see what this video's like. I don't like this video. There's no speaking in it.
Yeah, I don't like those either. Or when they just put music over something and expect you to follow along like everybody's a pro. I hate that.
All right, this one's kind of cool. You know why? Because this one is a text portrait. This is really relevant to our course for our instruction.
Hi, this is Marty from Blue Lightning TV. I'm going to show you how to create a powerful typographic portrait poster of someone from a photo. Open a photo of someone you'd like to use for this project. The result will look best when your subject is facing directly into the camera. The photo can be color or black and white. If it's in color, desaturate it by pressing Ctrl or Command-Shift-U. We'll make a selection around the subject to separate it from its background. The method you choose to make the selection should depend on the characteristics of your photo. For this example, I'll use the Quick Selection tool. If you're using this tool as well, its size should depend on the size and resolution of your document. You can either drag the tool inside or outside the subject. For this example, I'll select the outside. To remove areas of the selection, press and hold Alt or Option as you drag over those areas. Invert the selection by pressing Ctrl or Command-Shift-I. Click the Refine Edge button or go to Select and Refine Edge. I did an in-depth tutorial on Refine Edge, and I provided its link in the video's description. We're going to brush around the hair. To resize your brush, you can use the slider. Check Smart Radius and increase the radius a little bit. Drag around the hair and output it as a new layer with Layer Mask. Then click OK. The hair doesn't have to be perfect. We'll take care of the edges in a minute. Make a new document by pressing Ctrl or Command-N. Let's name it Poster. Change the pixels to inches and make its width and height whatever you'd like. I'll make my poster's height 16 inches and its width 12 inches. Make its resolution 300 pixels per inch if you're ultimately going to print your poster. We'll make the background color black. If you're not working on a recent version of Photoshop, I'll show you how to make it black in a minute. If you are working on a recent version, open your background contents. Choose Other and pick Black. Then click OK on both windows. If you're working on an earlier version, click OK on the New Document window and press D to make your foreground and background colors black and white respectively. Since your foreground color is black, press and hold Alt or Option plus Delete to fill your background with black. To fit it on your canvas, press Ctrl or Command-0. open the Face document and drag the image up onto the Portrait tab. Without releasing your mouse or pen, press and hold Shift as you drag it down onto the background and release. Pressing Shift kept it centered on your background. To resize it, open your Transform tool by pressing Ctrl or Command-T. Go to a corner, and when you see a diagonal double arrow, press and hold Alt or Option plus Shift as you drag it out or in. To reposition it, go inside the transform and drag it. Continue until the face is centered and fills the document. Then press Enter or Return. To adjust the brightness and contrast of the face, open your Levels window by pressing Ctrl or Command-L. Adjust the input levels until the shadows of the face are pure black and the lightest parts are bright enough. Then click OK. Next, we'll blend in the edges of the hair with the background. Click the Layer Mask to make it active and open your Brush tool. Open your brush picker. We'll take care of the brush size in a moment. Make the hardness 0% and the opacity and flow 100%. To make your brush larger or smaller, press the right or left bracket key on your keyboard. Brush over areas of your subject that you'd like to blend in better. Doing this reveals more of the black background through the layer mask. We're going to ultimately place our text on the side of the face that's brighter, which in this case is the left side. If the light on your subject is evenly distributed, you can place your text on either side. Go to View and make sure Rulers and Snap are checked. If they aren't, just click on them. Go to the ruler on the left and drag out a guideline to the center of your document. It'll snap in place because we have Snap checked. If you don't see the guideline, press Ctrl or Command-H. Open your rectangular marquee tool and go to the top corner of the side of the face that has less shadows. Drag a selection over half of the document, making sure it snaps to the center guideline. Click the New Layer icon to make a new layer. In this empty layer, we'll fill the selection with black. Assuming your foreground color is black, press Alt or Option plus Delete. To deselect it, press Ctrl or Command-D. To hide the guideline, press Ctrl or Command-H. We're ready to add text. Open your horizontal type tool. Open your list of fonts and choose a sans serif heavy font. I'm using American Captain Regular. If you'd like to use this font, I provided its link in the video's description or project files. Make it size between 50 to 100 points and sharp. If the text will be on the left side of your poster, click the Align Right icon. If your text will be on the right side of your poster, click the Align Left icon. Click the color box and pick white. Place your cursor near the top middle of your document and type out your first 2 lines of text. To adjust the space between lines, also known as leading, go to Window and Character. The Character panel will open. Highlight your text and drag the leading slider to the left or right. Keep the space tight between the lines. Click next to the last character of your second line and continue to type out the rest of your text. Open your Move tool and go to View and click Snap to deactivate it. Drag your block of text so it's almost touching the edge of the black background. To resize it, open your Transform tool and go to the outside bottom corner and press and hold Shift as you drag it out. Then press Enter or Return. Control-click or Command-click on the large T of your text layer to make a selection of your text's shape. Click on the eyeball next to the layer to hide the text. Make the black shape active and press the Delete key on your keyboard to delete the area inside the selection. Then deselect it. If there are areas of the portrait that are a bit hard to read, I'll show you how to make the words more legible. Make the face active and open your Dodge tool. Open the Dodge picker. We'll take care of the size in a moment. Make its hardness 0%, the exposure 100%, and make sure Protect Tones is checked. Make the range shadows and adjust the size of your tool. Now, brush over the areas you want to brighten. This time, make the range midtones and brush over the same areas. Open your brush tool and reduce its opacity to 10%. Repeat brushing over those words. Continue to use the Dodge and brush tools until those words are easier to read. Next, we'll add a thin border set in from the edge of the poster. Make layer 1 active and click the new layer icon to make a new layer above it. Fill it with any color. I'll fill it with a foreground color, which is white. Reduce the fill's opacity to 0%. This makes whatever is filling the layer invisible, but any effects that we add to it will remain visible. Double-click on the layer to open its layer style window. Click Inner Glow. Change its blend mode to normal, the opacity 40%, and the choke 100%. I'll make the size 70 pixels. However, you may want to adjust this amount depending on the size and resolution of your poster. Click Stroke and make the size between 2 to 4 pixels less than the amount you used for Inner Glow. Make the position inside and change the blend mode to lighten. Then click OK. This is Marty from Blue Lightning TV. Thanks for watching.
So that was a pretty good one because, again, it basically was a type project, which we are working in type. At least that's where the focus is this week. And that wraps us up for the week. I hope you have no other questions. I guess give you one shot if you do have one. Let's hear from it.
Nope, no questions.
You're good. Okay, so you know what to do. You know how to do it, and good luck. It was really wonderful having you in the course, and
Oh, thank you.
I look forward to seeing what you submit.
Okay.
Okay. You have a good night.
Oh, you too.